This is Making Light. Julie Hurt and Kate Fogger are soul-level intuitives and animal communicators. This show is about us sharing our experiences in the hope it will help others along their path. So let's go make some light. Hello everybody, my name is Kate Fogger and this is Julie Hurt, the big professional microphone. And together we are making light. That's my cheap. Have you got something so you don't spit on it? This is my cheap one from Amazon. I think it cost me £5. Anyway, hello everybody, and I won't say Happy New Year because we've already done that, haven't we? We're actually week 2 of January, I think, and we have been looking at giving and receiving. And last week we just did a little slick session with me, and it seemed to revolve around mostly not lovable, I think. So we thought I'd return the favour, and we'll have a little dig around in Julie's issues around giving and receiving. So typically in soul level intuitive coaching, because Julie and I are both soul level animal communicators and soul level intuitive coaches, and the slick, that's what we call it, the slick that we do, we look at the workarounds, which are the behaviours that we all do in order to avoid feeling some negative belief. So we recognize 4 negative beliefs in soul level intuitive coaching. I'll just call it slick. Not lovable, not worthy, not good enough, not safe, supported and protected. And most negative beliefs that we have will actually fall into one of these categories. Sometimes they'll bridge them, but most things do actually tend to fall into them. I haven't yet found anything that didn't. Have you, Julie?
No, I think there's nuances with, like you're saying, there's nuances that might help someone, but the guides for me typically stick with those 4.
Yeah.
And then we can clarify if someone doesn't quite understand, which is fine.
Yeah. So what our intuitive coaching does is looks at those behaviors, looks at the negative belief behind that's driving the behavior, and by your awareness and looking at where you apply this workaround and all the different forms it takes, it actually helps to loosen it off. So there's no like fixing things, it's all about awareness. But we do this with the help of our guides, who will offer us situations that we can remind the client of. So we'll just get prompts, if you like, from the guides that will help lead the clients so that they remember or, you know, explore their feelings. I seem to be rambling, but that's pretty much soul level intuitive coaching, I think. And we have been looking at various workarounds and applying them in the context of a particular negative belief. And this week we're not going to decide what negative belief it is, although I have already decided what Julie's is. So we'll see what the guides come up with. Anything you want to add to that, Julie?
No.
So just in general, before we dig into it, Julie, how do you feel about giving and receiving, or how do you think you feel about giving and receiving?
So it's complex. Giving, when I think of it in terms of gifts, not my forte. I am very happy to give somebody my time, give somebody my like hold space. And will very easily put other people's tasks, needs, whatnot before my own. So there's that. But when it comes time, because, you know, I'm not hate the word but I'm trying to refrain from the word but. And when I go to give someone a gift or mail cards, no, like it's just so not my thing. Unless somebody is an avid reader, then I'm all about buying the books. But if it's anything else, like I'm not a great gift giver. It's just not my thing. If I had unending funds and I was like doing something and I'd see something for somebody, I'd totally buy it and give it to them. But that's just not, I get more conscious of my budget. On the receiving end, what's interesting I have found lately is, as we've done this work, to receive help when it's offered, like you've offered several times to help with body code, like Lucas and whatnot. And it's like lately I've been reminded, like, when you need something, ask for it. When you need something, ask for it. When you need something, ask for it. I have a massage therapist that does different modalities, lots of different modalities in Anchorage. And she worked with me on the solstice, and she said, and when you need some more, just let me know. It's always ask. And I'm like, okay, there's another reminder. So this receiving has also been hard for me. And I'm also, but I'm, and I'm aware of it. So I'm working through it too. So both have sticky bits, if you will. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I think what we'll do then is I'm going to ask the guides to tell us what negative belief. You see that, but there are different elements of giving and receiving. So just before I speak to the guides, you have an opinion on what you think is behind this. I think you said not lovable.
No, I know it's not lovable. Yes, I have an opinion, but I want to hear from the guides because I sometimes get stuck, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, what came up for me, but it was before I was really connected. So let's actually ask the guys, because as you were talking, I was like, yeah, I'm not sure it's not lovable. I think it's more of something else. But let's try and put that aside.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just connect to the guides who are going to play Julie at her own game, is what I said. That might have been me. We'll see. Okay. So I'm just going to ask the guides what negative belief do we, you see, because I think this is such a rich subject. I'm going to look particularly at receiving, because that was the one that came up for me, and then we can ask about giving. Oh, I'm hearing it's the same. Okay.
Mm.
And right, okay. I'm just going to check because it's conveniently obviously what I thought it was, which might mean I am actually indeed connected to my guides, as you're always telling me, Julie, or I'm actually overriding them with my own opinion, which is also possible. But they're telling me actually that they're not, and that we are actually all connected far more than we think we are. And there's no such thing as innate intelligence. It all comes from them. They didn't say that, but I think that's quite funny when you say to people with an IQ of 103, it's not you, it's your guides. Right, 103 is not high, actually, is it? 100's average. Did you know that?
Nope. I don't know any of the numbers on IQs.
Yeah,
I don't know any of it.
100% is fucking average. So people get excited about that. I could be talking bollocks. I think it is. But yeah, so, all intelligence, is it channeled? Like, where does it come from? It's not us, is it? It's all stuff that's come before us.
Hmm.
Okay, but that's not to say you have to be a certain person to put it together, which it just sort of changes the form of what intelligence is the ability to actually decode what information you're being given, as opposed to coming up with it yourself. Who knows? It's another question, but let's go with that. So what I'm getting, Julie, is, and I do get this in big, bold, flashing letters, is not worthy.
Does not
Which is
surprise me.
nice, because it fits in with our week 2 theme. So there you go. Week 2 of the month is not worthy. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to ask them for, I don't know, will I ask them for evidence of this, Julie, or will I ask them for why it comes from it's
I
whether,
would ask, I would ask them what age to see. I'm curious
oh,
how this
okay.
ties.
See, I
Yeah.
have issues with this, we use the term influencing factor, and I have issues with that term, which always throws me, but let's go with it. That's what we call it. So this is the like the first time that Julie came up with this negative belief, but let's have a go at that then. So I'm just going to ask the guides, when Julie first experienced this, and I am getting to now, see, I have issue here because I think I know what it is. Actually, it's not what I think it is, because I know about your dad coming home and you always going up to your dad, and that would irritate your mum. Actually, what I'm seeing is you as a little girl, you're in like a little dress, but you weren't before. You were wearing clothes, but it wasn't a little dress. But now you actually look quite girly, which I wouldn't have thought was you at all, with little bows in your hair. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like I had a choice about how I
Oh,
dressed it too.
okay, fair point. Okay, but you're wearing what I would call tennis knickers. I don't know if you ever had
Oh yeah.
the ones with
Uh-huh.
big
Like,
frills, ruffles on them.
mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. And but actually what you're doing, I can just see from behind, which is very similar. But I see someone coming in the door who I just assumed was your dad because of what you told me before. But I was thinking, surely that's a bit young for you. But actually what I see is you doing this. And you're watching this person. Is it? I just got goosebumps. I think, is it your dad? I don't know. I thought it was your dad. I just assumed that. I need to ask again, but they sort of walk past and it's like you're there like expectantly waiting for this acknowledgement, and they just go straight past you to something behind you. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. I don't have the specific memory. It, however, explains some other behaviors too. So, yes, it makes sense. You should continue.
Okay. You know what? I don't know how to continue. It's been that fucking long since I've done a proper
Uh,
like kosher slick session. So I've been doing so many other things. What do you want me to do with that? It's,
Um,
isn't it? This is slick. This is not slick, as in it's not slick, as in it's not smooth. Because you,
it is smooth. It is smooth. No, so I'll say this. Okay, so it's interesting to me that scene that you see, because when for the longest time, when someone would come home, like if Brad, my husband, would come home, or people would come into the house or whatever, that initial greeting, I have in the past, I've changed based on something that I've learned in the last couple months, but that would be if I may not even move. So I may be here at my desk and he walks in the other part of the house and I don't even call out hello. Like, I standoffish is how, if people that are really close to me, if they were to come in, I might not even acknowledge that they're here. That I've changed recently, and I've been watching how I feel about it and what it does. However, so when you said that, as far as the incident, if you will, at 2, it just not only explains what we're going to get into with receiving, but it also explains why I don't like, that's how it felt. Like I
yeah.
could just feel it kind of loosen up a little bit.
Well,
Yeah.
because as you say that, because I'm going, oh my God, that's not how this little girl feels. This little girl's like, you know, like all excited and all ready and all that, and then just bewilderment as she does not receive the attention that she's expecting to receive. That's definitely what I got, which would explain how you feel now.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to know, Julie, if I ever come to see you, that you're not actually going to acknowledge me. That's
Yeah,
fine.
just let me know when you're like, I'm not even gonna pick you up at the airport, Kate. You take an Uber, a cab, whatever. I'll give you the address. I may
Ah,
unlock the door for you. I will see. I don't know.
I'll just wait for Brad to come home to give me a cup of coffee or something like that. Right. Okay.
Exactly.
Isn't it weird, isn't it? It is weird, and it's probably weird for people listening to this to think how long we've been doing this and we've never even met.
No. Mm-mm.
That's
No.
COVID for you. Not anymore, but there we go. Okay, right, I'm in a bit of a loss though. What do you want me to do with this? Do you want me to go
I
further?
would, if you would, I would look at that scene just a little bit more, either my energy a little bit deeper, and or see about the energy around me at that time. That's what I would do.
Okay, so as I said, I'd assumed it was your father. But that was because of what you told me. But I am actually getting it that it is your father. And you see, I feel like I know too much. That's the trouble, is because I know this scenario that you've described to me, which was about your dad coming home. And that's
Yeah,
what,
but there's a shift in it, so I would go with it, Kate.
okay. So it's almost like your dad's on a scooter when he comes home, and it's almost, I see him sort of, let me check. Yeah, okay. So you're there and you're like waiting and waiting, and he, in the same way as you sort of going like this, he literally, it's almost like he's on a scooter like that, like not looking at you, not paying attention, but it's deliberate. And it feels like, but again, this is what I'm concerned about, because I know this story, but it feels like you're, you know, who mother. I see your mom in a real, actually pretty, I want to see like a Julie Garland dress,
Mm,
like with the little apron and full skirt and everything like that. But it's like
mhm,
she's over here, and like he's needing to please her. That's what I'm getting. But this is what I'm saying. This is so close to your story, but it feels like he, but he's having to keep he is having to keep his attention away from you, and you're like, what happened? That's what I
mhm,
see. Let's have a look then at the. Oh, okay. So where you're here and your mum's here, and what I see between your mum is that your mum's actually sending like energy, um, like witch's energy. That it's not witch's energy. I'm sorry, Mrs. Oh, she's not Mrs. Hurt. Is she Mrs. Hurt?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
she's
I didn't take Brad's name. Yeah.
um, but there's a I'm going to say animosity there actually about I just suddenly felt really sad actually that so it's really, I want to say childish of your mum, that's a bit patronizing,
Mm,
but your
mhm,
mum desperately wants that approval from your dad. Like she's
mhm,
not doing it to deprive you. Well, she is doing it to deprive you, but it's because she needs it. And the way that she's been brought up, attention can only go to one person. She seems to have been brought up in an environment where love wasn't, you were either the favorite or you were nobody. Like there's nothing in between. And if you weren't, if you could not, oh, I feel sad and creepy actually. If you weren't the favorite, you were persona non gratis. You were of no interest. And so she's desperately, it's almost like she's holding your dad's eyes and looking, and your dad's like, oh, don't look away, don't look away, don't look away, because he doesn't want to upset her at all. But what I'm feeling from your mom is this is deep in your mother. This isn't some spiteful, I want my child to suffer. This is so deep in her, she doesn't realize how ridiculous, patronizing, sorry, Mrs. Hurt, behavior this is, but she can't see that it's possible to actually share love. Does that make sense to you?
absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
at this moment, you're like, suddenly you're like, but I don't know what happened. And that's where
Mhm,
this stems from, this not worthy, that you're not worthy of your dad's attention. And you're getting that from your mom as well. Your mom's also giving you that vibe, not you, not you, not you, look over here, this way, and that's the vibe I'm getting as this happens.
mhm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And yes, it's, it was before this moment, at 2, it was that he would come home, I would run up to him, grab him, he would, grab his leg and he would lift me up and it would be like joyful reunion and mom would be in the background going, what about me? And my sister was just born. And so it's interesting to me that this is still to some degree around the same instant, but it shifted. So now there's a learned behavior, is how I'm hearing it. There's a
Mhm.
learned behavior from my dad to compensate for what was happening in the conversations. I don't want to say fights, but the, conversations that would ensue between he and my mom after I would greet them so enthusiastically, so that now he's working really hard to keep his head and eyes focused on my mom and not look down at me. And so that idea of not being worthy to receive in the moment when reception is the thing I'm looking for, as well as giving, right? I mean, like I'm at the same moment looking to give my dad a welcome home. And I also know that in that moment, I'm also learning that I have to put other people's feelings in front of my own. So I have to make sure my mom is happy and in a good place. And then I'm allowed to give and receive. Like that's how it feels. Like I love how this has just kind of moved a little bit to
It
just go
is.
to that next layer.
Just a correction, that's a behavior you learn later, because at this time you're at an age where you don't know what the fuck is going on. All you know
Yeah.
is you're not welcome anymore. You're not, as you say, effort. There's a lovely emotion in the emotion, not lovely, but it's not lovely at all. It's actually very touching, called effort unreceived. But I also think there's one about something else unreceived, love unreceived. So that's your emotion at this point, is love unreceived. So you're ready to give and it's not received. And then is reciprocated either. So it's like a double whammy. So not only are you, as you say, unable to give, you get nothing back, and that stems from that then causes you to feel unworthy. So learning to please your mother comes later, but this certainly this aloofness that you describe about people is because there is nothing more disappointing, actually worse than, I remember Reader's Digest, you know how they used to have little snippets at the end of articles to fill up space now, and there was one of them that, and I don't know who wrote it, and it was said, there is misfortune in not being loved, there is misery in not loving. So actually what I feel for you is that that love unreceived is actually what is much more painful than being loved. And I think it's the same for me as well. The inability to be rejected at that stage, that not being able to give it is actually much more painful to you, which is why you don't offer it. Which is why you're like, speak to the hand, because that's the painful bit, is to have that rejected or to have that ignored. You know, and that breeds a level of, I'm hearing contempt. I don't know that contempt's the right word. Is it complacency? It's like, it's, you know, it's not about what's coming to you. It's about your precious love that you give to someone, and then it's either rebuffed or you're unable to offer it. But that's actually what drives this behavior far more than not being able to receive it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. And,
Okay.
so I think I have the greeting whole thing that I've realized not, and before this, and have just been playing with a little bit. I work with this astrologer called Jennifer Freed. She's an astrologer psychologist. I've attended her book club, Soul Map Club. I forget. Anyway, and now we're getting ready to start a new group, and I'm really excited about it. Anyway, but she was talking about, she's trained in a specific type of psychology that has to also do with touch. And I forget, it's got 4 letters to it. It's like ESMR or something. I won't remember. Those of you who know will be able to help correct me, or I'll look it up. She said that when someone comes home, when someone enters the house, or if you've been separated from your beloved all day long, when they come home, like she said, take a couple minutes, both of you, and start to breathe together, because it brings you both back into your space together. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. So what I've been doing is, when I know Brad usually calls when he leaves the office, so I have a sense of how long it's going to be, and I make sure that I meet him at the door. And when he comes in, I actually now embrace him, and we just hold each other for a few minutes. And it's really changed dynamics for me. As I mean, I'm guessing he loves it, and I'm guessing for him, but for me, it's just really allowing, because this whole feeling of, to some degree, like letting him in emotionally, has just, even though we've been married or we've been together for 24 years, it's still just, I've kind of kept a little bit at bay. Like I'll push him away and stuff, or, like he'll come in the morning and want to talk, and I'm like, I have not had coffee yet. Do not talk to me right now. But now I realize that that's what's happened. Like there's this pushing away. So I've tried to find when those little moments happen and allow them to drop. It's just interesting that I didn't realize the significance of the impact when I was 2 in the situation you've described. And I can see like all the different permeations. And I have to also say quickly is, with my mom now having Alzheimer's or dementia, who knows which one it is, the doctors, I don't know, it's a whole thing. And then my dad too, and being here to be able to assist. And I'm watching how, with her memory fading and her personality changing and different things, how that dynamic shifts yet again, between him making sure she's okay, and me having to make sure she's okay in a completely different way, while at the same time having a new connection with my dad. And just the whole, so I'm going to have to be really, I'm just have to really be aware of this in a curiosity kind of way, I think. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, at this point in a session, if I remember correctly, that's right, I'm not this shit if I actually prepare for it. Julie said, I'm going to let you do slick on me. I was like, oh, fuck, I can't. Right. We would either look at situations where this might come up and other work, where other workarounds. So we could either look at that or we explore it more. But just as an aside, just because as I was listening, I would get about your mum is that your mum, and I'm assuming I'm getting this from my guys because I don't think you've told me this, but your mum's actually quite high maintenance. Is that, would you say that in terms of attention?
How would I say this? It is quite possible. I don't necessarily deny it. I know that when I was born, I do know the stories. They have actually admitted that my mother's mother was, I think, the youngest of several, I'm pretty sure, and was told she always had a heart condition. And so she was coddled from the time that she was a little girl. And so she always made everything about her. So I'm guessing narcissistic type of stuff. And yeah. So my mother rebelled against all of that. However, at the same time, my immediate family, so my mom, my dad, my sister, and myself, we had this thing called mom being Myrtle. Myrtle was her mom. And so when my mom would begin to display Myrtle tendencies, whether they were narcissistic or whatever type of stuff, being grumpy or I don't know, just lots of things, we would call her being Myrtle in an effort to snap out of it, as Kate likes to say. So it's very possible. However, at the same time, I can see how it also served her because my mom was a businesswoman started in the late 70s when women couldn't get loans. And she, I always say bullied her way through because she's just strong and she wasn't going to be stopped. So it has also served her well. And I just want everyone to know, absolutely, I love my mom. However, we do butt heads, always butt heads, not so much now because she's not completely as she used to be, but used to really butt heads because I'm a lot like her too. So I'm also mindful of that too. And because there's things I don't want to repeat that my mom, anyway, that's another story. But yeah, so that's another part of this soul level intuitive coaching is that we're not necessarily judging all the people that were part of this, have understanding or understanding of why they did what they did. So that releases compassion and awareness. Yeah.
And everything you described about your mother is all because of what she received from her mother or didn't receive from her mother. And yeah, I got exactly the same, that Myrtle was a narcissist. And there's actually like all the work that I do, most of the women that I work with, I clearly put on a better show than this because they come back, but it's about it's, what do you call it? So I've read several books in it, but one of the ones that, and it's interesting, is parents of children of emotionally immature parents, and particularly for a woman, a daughter with a mother who is either narcissistic or some other type of psychopath, and there's plenty of them to go around, or just emotionally immature or emotionally unavailable or whatever. For a girl to be the daughter of such, she's going to suffer a lot more than if you're a boy, because that's your female role. So it affects you very, very deeply. So everything that your mother's experiencing was because of what she went through as a child with her mother. And she doesn't have the benefit that you and I now have of actually being able to unpack this and realize why these things happen. So you can spend a lifetime, as your mother maybe does, of not really understanding why you feel so fucking miserable about things that you can't explain. And that's the benefit of this work, is that we can, it doesn't go away immediately, but understanding that your mother was suffering from this sort of pain helps you put in perspective, what you feel now, and it helps you to then work through the behaviors that you have with more empathy towards yourself and empathy towards the person who wronged you. And also for a lot of people our age, a lot of us don't even realize that we suffered at the hands of our parents, because all of their generation, well, we were brought up to believe that their generation weren't particularly touchy, weren't particularly this, weren't particularly that, and that's all these young people are all flakes, they all get lots of attention. But actually not all parents were like my parents. By the book, stiff upper lip British, don't coddle your parents. I'm like, yes, but actually there was still plenty of families that did offer their children love and affection and support, maybe not in a really posh household, but that, most people did. So I grew up thinking that what I experienced was normal, as we all do.
Mm-hmm.
You're lucky enough to see it differently. Now I
Mm-hmm.
sort of look back and think, fucking hell. And I feel a bit cheated. And I can see evidence of actually my friends' relationships with their parents was very, very different, despite them being the same generation. And blah, blah,
Mm-hmm.
blah. How do you feel about that, Julie?
That is extremely helpful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you doing that, giving me another little dimension onto not worthy as it relates to giving and receiving, and my hesitancy to do both.
And of course, the flip side of that, not soul level intuitive coaching, but spirituality in general, or indeed just good common sense, if you can just let yourself believe it, is that we are all worthy, always, all the time. It's not something you work at. There is no such thing as not being worthy. And that
Mm.
I listened to this guy on, I don't know how he snuck into my YouTube shorts, but he does, and YouTube shorts. And what's his name? Jonathan. He does shorts on relationships, but he does it quite funny. It's for man, but he was talking about narcissists today. It was just a short one.
Mm.
It was just really interesting how, we all believe that somehow we have to earn that love, respect, or whatever from other people, and actually we don't. And that's still something I struggle to get my head around.
Mm-hmm.
That we are inherently worthy, end of, no questions, no
Mm-hmm.
exceptions, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really hard because it is used against us as children. We
Yeah.
are made to feel by ways of, and by society in general, a way of controlling us, that you have to contribute XYZ in order to deserve XYZ, which makes you think that somehow worthiness is something that has to be earned, which it doesn't.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
both still struggle with that, even though we know that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. All the time. Yeah. Well, this has been wonderful, Kate. Thank you very much. So, next week, we're going to take a look at giving and receiving from both not good enough and not feeling safe, supported, and protected to wrap up January's theme of giving and receiving. And then in February, we're going to move on to another workaround that is actually suggested by one of our clients. So that's going to be really interesting too. So you have been listening to Making Light Two Humans Being. Thank you so, so much for being here. We really appreciate all of your support and your comments. Please do leave the comments here on either Instagram, or there are ways to find us, or on Instagram, on YouTube, or there are ways to find us on Instagram and Facebook. We love hearing from you. So please let us know how this episode resonated with you. And if you have any comments, and even if you have any questions, let us know those too, and we can address those on camera at another time. My name is Julie. Here with me, as always, is the fabulous and amazing Kate Fago, even though sometimes she doesn't believe it, but it's true. And we will be here next week. So we will see you then. Thank you so much for being here. Take really good care of yourself, and we'll see you next time.